In the small town of Willow Creek, nestled deep in the heart of the forest, stood an old mansion known as Ravenwood Manor. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, its walls whispering secrets of a dark past. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the mansion's infamous corridor, said to be cursed by a vengeful spirit. One foggy evening, a group of curious friends Emma, Jake, Mia, and Alex decided to explore the mansion. They had heard the tales of the cursed corridor and were determined to uncover the truth. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they made their way to Ravenwood Manor. As they stepped inside, the air grew heavy with an eerie silence. The wooden floors creaked under their weight, and the flickering light from their flashlights cast long, dancing shadows on the walls. They navigated through the grand hall, past decaying furniture and dust-covered portraits, until they reached the corridor. The corridor was long and narrow, with faded wallpaper peeling off the walls. At the end of it, a single door stood slightly ajar. Emma, the bravest of the group, stepped forward and peered inside. "There's nothing here," she said, her voice echoing softly. But as she turned back to her friends, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. The corridor plunged into darkness, and the temperature dropped dramatically. A cold wind howled through the corridor, carrying with it faint whispers and ghostly wails. "Did you hear that?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling. Jake nodded, his face pale. "We need to get out of here." But as they tried to retrace their steps, the corridor seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting and turning in impossible directions. The walls closed in around them, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared at the far end of the corridor. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and it moved towards them with unnatural speed. The friends backed away in terror, their hearts pounding in their chests. "We have to stick together," Alex shouted. "It's trying to separate us." But it was too late. The corridor seemed to come alive, its walls shifting and pulsating. The friends were pulled apart, each trapped in their own twisted version of the corridor. Emma found herself in a room filled with mirrors, each reflecting a different version of her terrified face. Jake was surrounded by shadows that whispered his deepest fears. Mia faced a door that led to a never-ending maze, and Alex found himself in a room where time seemed to stand still. As the hours passed, the friends struggled to find a way out, their fear growing with each passing moment. They could hear each other's cries for help, but the corridor's curse kept them apart. In the end, it was Emma who discovered the key to breaking the curse. In the room of mirrors, she faced her own reflection and spoke the words that had haunted her since childhood. "I'm not afraid," she whispered, her voice steady. "I won't let you control me." With those words, the mirrors shattered, and the corridor began to dissolve. The friends were reunited, standing once again in the grand hall of Ravenwood Manor. The air was still heavy with the remnants of the curse, but they had broken free. As they left the mansion, the fog lifted, and the first light of dawn broke through the trees. They vowed never to speak of the cursed corridor again, but the memory of that night would haunt them forever. As they walked away from Ravenwood Manor, the friends remained silent, each lost in their own thoughts. The experience had shaken them to their core, but they were grateful to have escaped with their lives. Days turned into weeks, and life in Willow Creek returned to its quiet normalcy. However, the friends could not shake the lingering effects of their encounter. Strange things began to happen to each of them. Emma, who had been the first to confront the spirit, started seeing fleeting shadows out of the corner of her eye. She would turn, expecting to find someone there, but there was never anyone. Her nights were plagued with restless sleep, filled with nightmares of the cursed corridor and the malevolent figure. Jake's condition was even worse. He began to hear the same whispers that had haunted him in the corridor. They followed him everywhere, at home, at school, even in his dreams. The whispers spoke of his deepest fears and insecurities, driving him to the brink of madness. Mia found herself lost in a labyrinth of her own making. She became increasingly paranoid, convinced that every door she passed through would lead her back to the endless maze. Her friends noticed her growing anxiety, but she refused to talk about what was bothering her. Alex experienced a disorienting sense of time. Hours would pass in the blink of an eye, while minutes stretched into eternity. He became obsessed with clocks and schedules, trying to anchor himself to a reality that felt constantly shifting. Despite their attempts to move on, the friends realized they were still bound by the curse of the corridor. Desperate for answers, they decided to return to Ravenwood Manor. This time, they were determined to break the curse once and for all. Equipped with more knowledge and armed with research on the mansion's history, they approached the manor with a sense of purpose. They discovered that the mansion had once belonged to a reclusive occultist named Elias Blackwood. He had dabbled in dark magic and performed forbidden rituals in the mansion, eventually meeting a mysterious and gruesome end. The friends learned that the spirit haunting the corridor was Elias himself, trapped between worlds by his own dark practices. To free themselves from his curse, they would need to perform a ritual to release his tormented soul. Under the cover of night, they returned to the cursed corridor. This time, they brought with them candles, an ancient book of spells, and a determination born from their shared suffering. Emma, who had proven her bravery before, took the lead. They set up the candles in a circle and began chanting the incantations from the book. The air grew cold, and the whispers returned, louder and more menacing than ever. The corridor's walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, but the friends stood their ground. As they chanted, a dark mist began to form in the center of the circle. The shadowy figure of Elias Blackwood emerged, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He screamed in fury, but the friends continued their chant, their voices growing stronger. With a final, thunderous roar, the spirit of Elias Blackwood dissipated into the mist. The corridor fell silent, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The friends collapsed to the floor, exhausted but victorious. As they left Ravenwood Manor for the last time, the sun began to rise, casting a warm glow over the ancient building. They felt a sense of peace wash over them, knowing that they had finally broken the curse. Life in Willow Creek slowly returned to normal. The shadows that had haunted Emma disappeared. The whispers that tormented Jake fell silent. MIA's paranoia faded, and Alex's sense of time stabilized. They remained close friends, bonded by their shared ordeal and the knowledge that they had faced the darkness together and emerged stronger. The story of Ravenwood Manor and its cursed corridor became a local legend, a cautionary tale for those who dared to delve into the unknown. But for Emma, Jake, Mia, and Alex, it was a reminder of the power of friendship and the strength found in facing one's fears. As months passed, the friends found solace in their newfound normalcy. However, remnants of their ordeal lingered subtly in their lives. Emma's fleeting shadows, Jake's whispers, MIA's paranoia, and Alex's disorienting sense of time, although less intense, never completely vanished. One evening, as the friends gathered at Emma's house, they decided to revisit their past adventure to gain closure. Over hot cocoa, they reminisced about their experience at Ravenwood Manor. "Do you ever wonder if we missed something?" Jake asked, breaking the silence. Emma nodded. "I think about it all the time. We may have freed Elias, but the mansion's energy was so strong. There could be more to the curse." Mia shivered. "Maybe there's another layer to it. Something we didn't see." Alex, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "What if Elias wasn't the only one trapped? What if there are other spirits, other secrets hidden within the manor?" Determined to uncover the full truth, they decided to return to Ravenwood Manor one last time. This time, they brought more equipment, cameras, recording devices, and a spirit box to document their findings and possibly communicate with any remaining entities. As they approached the mansion, the familiar sense of unease settled over them. The grand, decaying structure loomed ominously, but they pressed on, their resolve stronger than their fear. Inside, the air was thick with a musty smell, and the floorboards creaked beneath their feet. They set up their equipment in the grand hall and began their investigation. Hours passed with no significant findings. The house remained eerily silent, the shadows dancing on the walls with each flicker of their flashlights. Just as they were about to call it a night, the spirit box crackled to life. A distorted voice emerged, barely audible. "Help us." The friends exchanged nervous glances. "Who are you?" Emma asked, her voice steady. "Trapped, not alone, danger." The voice faded, replaced by static. Jake frowned. It's not just Elias. There are others here, and they need our help. They followed the source of the voice deeper into the mansion, to a hidden room they had overlooked before. The room was filled with old, dusty books and strange symbols painted on the walls. In the center stood a large, ornate mirror, its surface covered with a dark cloth. Emma hesitated, then pulled the cloth away, revealing the mirror. Instead of their reflections, they saw glimpses of ghostly figures, men, women, and children trapped within the glass. Mia gasped. They're all trapped in the mirror. Alex, recalling their previous research, said, Elias must have used the mirror to trap their souls. We need to break the mirror to release them. With a deep breath, Emma picked up a nearby chair and swung it at the mirror. The glass shattered, releasing a burst of cold air. Ghostly figures emerged, their faces showing relief as they faded into the light. As the last spirit disappeared, a sense of peace filled the room. The mansion's oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by an almost serene calm. The friends left Ravenwood Manor, knowing they had finally put the spirits to rest. The shadows that haunted Emma vanished, the whispers in Jake's mind ceased, Mia's paranoia dissipated, and Alex's sense of time returned to normal. Back in Willow Creek, they felt a sense of closure and relief. They had faced their fears once more and emerged victorious. The story of Ravenwood Manor and its haunted corridor became a tale of bravery and friendship, a testament to their enduring bond. Years later, as they gathered with their own families, the friends would recount their adventure with a mix of nostalgia and pride, knowing that together they had conquered the darkest of shadows.